Sorry, guys. I can sit, right? Yes. I have permission to sit? Okay. Oh boy.
Wasn't much to judge by. What did you think of his performance for the?
I mean, that's the way you want to do it. You know, I can't fault him. That's, I said to him up there, I said, "That's the way you want to win," and he said, "I plan on continuing it." I said, "Good for you. Good for you." It's gonna be a little harder, but yeah, I'm more of a mystery than he is, though. So it makes sense. It works out.
Do you feel like you're gonna be harder to scout? Like he has no idea where your strength is going to be. At least you had some idea, and then you get to see this fight, so you have some idea what he was like. But he may not have any idea what your style will be like. So to prepare.
I mean, him, you, everybody, they have no idea, what I'm going to bring to the table, and that's an advantage, obviously. Yeah, and Ariel asked me if I would have liked if the fight had gone longer, but I'm indifferent. I'm just happy, he didn't get hurt, so we can try to get this thing done as soon as possible. And being a mystery helps, but like I said, he's kind of a mystery too, so it's intriguing to me.
And one last question I have for you: what weight did you weigh when you wrestled, and what do you think getting to 170 is going to be for you like?
Well, that all depends on what year. I got as big as like 240, 245.
Really?
Yeah, but I walked into Duke's my first day. I was like 220. Now I'm walking around about like 190.
And so, do you feel like when you start your cut, you'll be about 190, or do you think you'll be below?
No, I like to get a little bit lower, but that was one of the things. When you don't have a date, you don't have an opponent, you don't have a face. Why am I going to worry about cutting weight?
Right.
I always eat clean anyway, so I always hover around right where I'll need to be, and based on advice from my teammates and stuff like that, I'm right where I need to be.
Do you have any concerns about Mike Jackson winning, and what would have happened if he would have won?
No, I mean it's a weird situation. We can all agree, right? It's been pretty bizarre. Everybody's been saying that ad nauseum. I wasn't sure if he won if I got him, and I don't see why not if that didn't happen. But it didn't happen, so Punk versus Gall, going forward.
Seeing the quick submission like that, and I know your jiu-jitsu coach Daniel, who has just rattlesnake-like submissions. This can't intimidate you because after grappling with Daniel, who just locks in arm bars and triangles like that, when you break something down like this with Daniel, do you just go, that happens all the time anyway, so I know what to do?
Well, and this is not a slight, no disrespect to Mike Jackson or anything like that. He just didn't protect his neck. He was more worried about the hook, and I've been there. You know what I mean? And I've been in positions where I'm trying to punch guys, and I need to worry about, the submission that's being locked down. So no, it doesn't worry me. It just, the whole thing just excites me. I'm pretty stoked right now.
What kind of feelings did you have when you stepped into the cage and squared off with them?
It was one of those things where I didn't necessarily want to go into the octagon, but I'm not a superstitious guy. I would have liked maybe to my first fight be the first time I get in there, but I know what it feels like now. So it's just, check that off the list, I guess. Yeah.
Kind of a blown marketing opportunity, though, to have you in there at 4 o'clock when there's nobody in the building, basically.
Yeah, but I'm way less concerned about that than I'm more concerned about just being prepared and the actual fight. I said that too. That's my old wrestling. The wrestling part of my brain was like, no, we gotta fill this place up. There's not gonna be anybody there, but that's not why I'm doing it.
The other thing from a fight standpoint, or a pay-per-view standpoint, is if you fight on UFC 200 with McGregor on the card and whoever else it would be, it's going to be a really big pay-per-view. If you go on UFC 199 or 201, you might make a big difference in the total. Have you thought about that, and have you and Dana discussed that?
We've talked about it briefly. I'm hoping at some point to have a much larger conversation with him about that. I think there's going to be a lot of guys on 200. And again, part of me is like, no, put me on 200. That makes business sense. But then there's that new part of me that's just like, I want to get the first fight out of the way. Let's do this. 199 is fine with me. But we're gonna have to wait and see. You know how these things go. We'll just set it up.
There was some resentment among other fighters. You saw the people laughing at Sage when he lost. I wonder if you feel like if you take a pay-per-view spot over somebody that could be on that show, that they might have that same. Some of your peers may have that same resentment towards you because, hey, I should have been on that pay-per-view spot and instead I'm on FS1.
Okay, yeah, I will accept criticism levied towards me from anybody that's stepped into the octagon, but I have plenty of friends that are fighters that are encouraging this. So, that's more of a don't listen to the negative, and just kind of surround yourself with positive people. I'm not worried about taking spots from guys or anything like that. I just created 2 jobs.
Is the hype more than you ever anticipated coming into this? The hype?
No, I think because wrestling was my first love, and it was something, when I was a child, and it became something that's completely different from that. I think I put more pressure on myself in those situations. I don't feel pressure at all. This is just me. Like, if I need to prepare as much as I possibly can, and if I don't prepare enough, I know an ass kicking's waiting for me. So I'm not really feeling any pressure. I'm not really worried about any of the hype.
I've read statistically, professional wrestling is harder on your body and more injury prone than being an MMA fighter. Are you finding that? Is that actually true? Are you healthier doing this than you were when you were wrestling every single week?
Well, if you get knocked out in the octagon, somebody stops it. Not so much in the other arena. And they're all tough on your body, but I mean, to me, I've said this. It's like vacation for me because I'm in my own bed every night. And it's not so much the bumps and everything of professional wrestling, it's the travel after that. You're on the road over 300 days a year, and it's pretty brutal.
And now that road and that lifestyle, I think that's paying your dues. A lot of people, when they step in, everyone says jitters, jitters, jitters. You've technically had hours and hours and hours of stage time and practice in front of people. So do you think when you actually fight, you'll just have regular nervous jitters and not lights, people, and all this?
I think I'll have, hey, I'm fighting another human being inside of a cage jitters. But I won't care about how many people are there, if they're booing or if they're cheering. I'm sure they'll be real loud. That's all that matters.
How relieved are you that you don't have to answer these questions about when are you going to fight or who are you going to fight? You've been asking for a year, and I know it's been annoying you.
Well, I put that on myself. It wasn't my idea to announce that we were doing this. I said, let me train, and then when we're ready, we can just announce it and boom, give the fight. And they wanted to do it their way, and I'm way past the point of arguing things that I can't control, so I just kind of let it happen, Don't concern myself with people asking me those questions. It's a little annoying, obviously, but, I understand I'm going to get those questions, so I'd be kind of foolish to, worry about it.
How's the recovery from injury? Are you able to go full 100% now?
Oh yeah, and I have been for quite some time. Shoulder's great, everything's great. I'm at it, I'm working my ass off.
Can you tell us a little bit about your cross training that you've done? That you went to Exos, I know you did that, and then you went with the Devils. Like, what kind of things are you picking up at those, and how did it impact what you're doing on a day-to-day basis?
It's not so much picking up stuff. It's like we're just kind of spying on other sports organizations and how they train their athletes. Training for MMA is pretty hard. Hockey's really hard too. You know what I mean? Like, these guys are skating before every game, and they have practice, and then they kind of got to integrate the weight training and all that stuff in there. So it's just kind of fascinating. I know a lot of MMA fighters that when they're in camp they don't weight train at all, and then I know a handful that they still do weight train. So it's just interesting to see almost like what another animal does, in the animal kingdom. And it just reaffirms a lot of the things that I myself do, and I know a lot of guys in my team.
Some of the things I know, I was talking to the people who went to Exos, talking about creating explosion of speed and power in your body, and maybe how. So, what was your body type like when you were, say, 220 or 240, and did you need that kind of explosive power that maybe you might need as an MMA fighter?
I mean, no. Pro wrestling is just all about looking good, and it was mostly, if you look at the guys in upper body business, everybody forgot about leg day. So this is totally different. Training for this is obviously totally different, just on the weight room aspect of things. I'm not trying to deadlift as much as I can. I'm not trying to be as big as I possibly can. I'm working more for, like you said, explosive movements and overall being a better athlete.
What days are you enjoying the most? Because you're going pretty much the way fighters used to, where they go in the gi, they box, they kickbox. What are you enjoying the most?
This might seem really bizarre to you. What I enjoy the most is my worst days. And I have them, I have days where Duke's got to pull me aside and he's like, just relax. Stop beating yourself up. You know what I mean? Like, you're training, you're sparring with guys who have 20 fights, and obviously they're gonna get the better of you. But it just, to me, that highlights the things I do right. If I can stuff a takedown or score one of my own, or like land a couple punches, and it's growing as, I guess, a mixed martial artist. But those are my favorite days because they're just so absolutely mind-numbingly just awful. I go to bed just waiting, and I'm excited to go back the next day just to work on everything. Those days really help me out.
Are you fighting out of a conventional stance or southpaw in your strike?
Conventional. Yeah.
Just having those personal days where you have the horrible day, but you have those personal little victories where you're stuffing a takedown today or going well. Does that give you that new sense that maybe you lost a little bit when you were wrestling because wrestling was so long that now this is new goals, new gains, new victories for yourself?
Ask me that again. Explain it.
In the accomplishment sense. So you go in, this is new to you. You have a day where it's a bad day, but you stuff a takedown on somebody that you hadn't been. Those little individual victories carry you and give you that fire now that maybe isn't there after 20 years as a professional
Oh yeah,
wrestler.
for sure. No, for sure. But it's instant gratification too. You know what I mean? This guy's trying to take me down. If I stuff that takedown, hooray! I'm still on my feet. 20 years of professional wrestling. After a while, I was just kind of questioning, what I was doing.
Talk about feeling like you're ready. Do you feel like you're ready right now, or do you still feel like there's some more work to do? Obviously, there's always going to be more work to do. But,
Here's my answer. I personally, if I ever attain that moment where I'm talking to you guys and I go, I feel I'm ready, that'll be a fucking awesome moment. I don't ever see it happen. I'm not ready, but me personally, I always say that's a question for Duke, or that's a question for Daniel. I have a fight now. I have a face, I have a name. We don't got a date yet. We're working on that. This is what I've been working for a very, very long time, and this is what I've wanted to do for an even longer time before that. So I'm just excited, and I'm happy, and I'm in Vegas, and I should be in Milwaukee training.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Appreciate it.
Good luck.